kitchen again for math on Wednesday. I hope your week is going good. Today we're going to look at number lines, and again, we're still relating fractions and decimals. That's the standard that we're working on this week. All right, so I have a number line here. Yay, Blaine, number line. And the first thing we're going to do is to label the number line. All right, so I'm going to label the number line. So this is just like fractions, it's part of the whole. So it's 0 to 1. So I have how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember I said we're doing this in tens. So I drew 9 lines, because remember if you're splitting something up, you're going to draw 1 line less. All right, so this would be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then you have the 0.10. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0.10 would be your whole. If you have 10 over 10, you have a whole. Remember that? All right. So now I've labeled it. Now I want to plot the following decimals. So I'm going to get my green, and I'm going to plot 0.6. Easy, right? There. So if you get a number line as a question and they haven't labeled it, okay, you have to think in your mind counting, and they want you to drag that little green dot over, which is something they're going to ask you to do. Count, skip count, okay, so you get to 6. All right, so that one's done. 0.8, easy peasy, right? 0.95, what? There's no 0.95 on here, Mrs. Swin. How are we going to do this? All right, so think. I have 0.9 and I have 0.10. What's in between? 95, right? If you were just counting 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on, you went 90, 95, 100. So I'm going to plot that right here. 0.95, 0.8, 0.6. Okay, so a lot of times you don't get the labels, so they just want you to go ahead and label it and drag it to where it should be. So if it's in between, if it's 95, you have to put it in between. Say it was, let's do another one, 0.38. Okay, well that's greater than 5. So I'm going to find 0.3, and I know 0.35 would be between there, like right about here. So I'm just going to put it a little bit closer and label it 0.38. That's it. You don't get a lot of those, but they might sneak one in to see if you understand that it's going to be somewhere between here, and if it's 0.38, it's going to be closer to 0.34 than 0.3. All right, so again, we're going to label the number line because that's going to help us. Now, here, we're going to compare decimals. That's another standard. You need to know how to compare the decimals. We compared equivalent decimals, yes, Monday when we did it, right? The 0.5 and 0.50. So sometimes you have different numbers, right? So you have to know how to compare those as well. And you can use a number line to compare them. So the first thing we need to do is to label ours. Again, remember, it's in tens. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 0.10. All right, so one way to compare decimals is to use a number line. We're going to learn other ways in a minute. So I have 0.3. I'm going to plot that here. And I'm comparing it to 0.24. There's that number that's in between, right? So it's 0.24. So that is somewhere in here. So if this is 0.3 and this is 0.24, which is greater? Well, the one that's higher, right? The one that's further along the number line. So this is our greater number right here. So 0.3 is greater. Remember, alligator mouth, okay, eats the bigger number, it wants more than 0.24. But you might say, but 3 and 24 is bigger. But remember that this is in tenths. So what I'm saying here is I'm saying that that is equal to 3/10, which if I'm looking at money, 3/10 is 3 dimes. If I'm saying this is 24 out of 100, because remember you can't put it on over 10 when you're doing it this way. That's saying I have 24 cents. This is saying I have 3 dimes. And if I convert this to hundredths, multiply, whatever you do the bottom, you do the top. If I multiply by 10, here's another way, I'm kind of giving you another way to do it. And you multiply 3 by 10, you get 30. And 30 is greater than 24. All right. Now looking at this, we have 0.7. Here's 0.7 on our number line, right? And then we have 0.70. Carefully look at this again. 0.7, we have nothing in the 10 spot, but we have 7 in the hundredth spot. That is saying, if we write this as a fraction, it's saying I have 7 hundredths. And that is equal to 7 pennies. Oops, sorry, I'm drawing upside down. That's representing 7 pennies, right? We have something in the 10 spot. If I was to write this, whether I write it as 70 over 100 or 7 tenths, because it's in the 10 spot, it still means that it's 70, because it either means I have 70 pennies or I have 7 dimes. 7 dimes and 70 pennies are the same, right? So this would be 0.70, and 70 cents is greater than 7 cents. What would you rather have? 7 pennies or 70 pennies? You'd rather have more, right? So now if I'm reading left to right, 0.07 is less than 0.70. Okay, you've got to be careful, because you look at that really fast and you think, oh, well, they're equal because they both have a 7 and a 0, but they're not in the same place value spot. This is going back to place value that we did a while back, beginning of the year. All right, so again, I'm going to show you now. Kind of got ahead of myself a little. You know how I do that all the time. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few different ways. Okay, and actually I think I have a third way. I do. I have 3 different things to show you. All right, so the first way is the number line. So I'm not going to label it this time, because you need to practice without labeling it, because on that Khan Academy you have to drag that little green dot, okay? You're not going to be able to write on the screen. But I know that 0 to 1 is always broken into tens when you're relating fractions. So I have 0.2, so I can skip count. Okay, that's 0.2 and 0.6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 0.6. Well, which one is further along the number line? 0.6. So remember, you always read left to right. So I would write 0.2 is less than 0.6, because the alligator mouth wants to eat more food. Okay? So remember, you always read left to right too when you're reading it. 0.2 is less than 0.6. You wouldn't say 0.6 is greater than 0.2, because we don't read right to left, right? You read left to right. All right. What if you have 0.4 here, 0.47? This kind of goes back to what we did earlier, okay, and on Monday as well. Well, remember what we said, 0.47, it means it is going to be between 0.4 and 0.5. All right, so I'm going to get a different color and mark that on my number line. Let's do red so it really stands out. All right, so if I have 0.4, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 0.4, and then I have 0.47, and I know it's between 4 and 5, 0.5, 0.6. It's going to be closer there. Okay, so that is my 0.47. Sorry, this is really small. So which is bigger? Again, which is farther on the number line? Well, 0.47 is farther on the number line. So again, reading left to right, 0.4 is less than 0.47. Okay, you can also think of it as, if you were going to write it in money, okay, this would be 40 cents, and this would be 47 cents. It's not a lot more, but we always want more money, right? So 47 cents is more than 40 cents. All right, here's the second way. Place value. I want to compare let's see. I think I was just planning on using the same number here. So I want to compare 0.4 and 0.47. So another way to do it is to make a little place value chart. You have your whole, your decimal is always going to be the same, tenth and hundredth. Now here we don't happen to have any whole numbers, so that's pretty easy. We just write the number there. Decimal point. And then the tenth that we have is 4 on the first number, and it's actually 4 on the second number. Okay, and then we're looking at the hundredth. Does this have any hundredths? No, so we're going to put a 0 there. Remember, that's that imaginary 0, okay, because it's just implied that it's there. There's nothing there. Is there something in the tenth here? Yes, there's a 7. So now we're looking at it, we're saying, okay, 0 point, they're both 4. Oh, but this number has a 0 and this number has 7. 7 is greater than 0, so this number is going to be greater than that number, right? And that's just what we did up here. We used the number line. Another way would be to use place value. So let's look at what if, okay? What if we had a whole number? All right, we're going to do it the same way, right? Well, let's look at 1.15. So we have 1 point, decimal point. We have 1/10, and we have 5 hundredths. All right, well, let's look at the next number. We have 1 whole, put our decimal, and then we have 3/10, and we have 0 hundredths. All right, now, what I know some of you are thinking is, oh, well, there's 5 hundredths, so this number's bigger. But you can't look at it that way. Remember, you have to start at the left, just like we did here. We went across, we went, okay, 0 is the same, decimal point's the same, 4 is the same, and then look at the last number. So we're looking at what's greater or less than. 1s are the same, decimal point. 3/10 is bigger than 1/10. So we don't even care about the hundredths this time because we know that 3 is greater than 1. So that is our bigger number. So 1.15 or 1 15 hundredths is, remember reading left to right, is less than 1.3 or 1 3/10. Okay, so that is a mistake, a common mistake that people do is that they get there and they're like, oh, 5 is bigger, but you're looking as you go across which number is bigger, and if you get to a number that's bigger, like here, then automatically that defers to the bottom number, whichever number, that's the greater number, okay, because you have 3/10. 3/10, remember, is 30, 1/10 is only 10, okay, so 30 is greater than 10. And then you don't need to worry about the rest. All right, the third way, the last way, is to change to a fraction. So if you don't like the number line and you don't like to draw the place value chart and you want something just quick and easy, change it to a fraction. All right, that's what we did all the work on Monday and with changing it back and forth between fraction and word form. All right, so I have no whole numbers, there's no mixed numbers in this one. All right, so remember, this is what? It's 8/10, right? All right. So I'm going to start with 8/10 here, but we might want to change that. We're going to look at this number, no holes, 78. Okay, you can't have 78 out of 10, it has to be 70 out of what? 100, very good. Sometimes I feel like Dora the Explorer because I asked you a question and then I answered the question to an empty screen. So I'm sure lots of you used to watch Dora Explorer. And I say, good job. Yes, good job, it's out of 100. All right, now it's kind of hard to compare this. Some of you can look at this right now and go, got it. All right, but you can't compare tenths and hundredths. You have to do something. And we can't really go backwards, remember, because you can't take 78 out of 10. So we cannot go backwards. We have to go forward. So whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Which would give me, this would make that into 100, right? And 8 times 10 is 80. So now I can compare 80 hundredths and 78 hundredths, and that would be what? That's right! 80 hundredths is greater than 78 hundredths. Good job. Okay, or up here if you're looking at this, you could also just know that there's a mysterious 0 there because there's nothing represented there, so that means it must be 0. 80 is greater than 78, or 80 hundredths is greater than 78 hundredths, because you want to be farther down that number line, closer to 1. Left to right, 800s is greater than 7800s. Another way. So remember, all through the year, I try to give you different ways to get to the same answer. That's what I love about math, is that you have that opportunity to give you lots of different ways to get to the same answer. All right. Finally, we have a couple more examples here for practice. All right, so I'm looking at here and see, even though you guys aren't doing the FSA this year, try to give you things that I've seen on FSA practice questions, okay? These are all the same numbers, right? But are they in the same order? And they try to get you on that because they want to know, are you paying attention to where the numbers are located place value-wise? So let's look at this here, okay? And this is where we're going to change it to a fraction. All right, so we have a whole number. We got to put our 1 there, right? Now, is that 2 tenths or 2 hundredths? Well, let's think about that. This is in the 10th spot, and this is in the 100th spot. There's nothing in the 10th spot. That means it's 2, and because it's out of 100, okay? Why isn't it 2 tenths? Because it's not in the 10th spot. The 2 is in the 100th spot. So that's saying, like, if you were thinking about money, that I have $1.02. All right? All right, now let's look at this one. Again, our whole number 1. I made it easy, and I kept the numbers the same instead of having mixed numbers be different. Instead of having the whole number and the mixed number be different, I kept it the same. All right, so let's do the same thing. How many tenths do we have? 2, right? Now the 0 is here, so 2 tenths is 20. So we're going to keep it the same because we want to keep it at hundredths so we don't have to try to reconvert things. All right, so this is 1 and 20 hundredths. This is 1 and 2 hundredths. So you really got to be careful about where the place value is and where they place that number, because they will try to confuse you by giving you the same exact numbers but in different order, right? So 1 and 2 hundredths, is that greater than, less than, or equal to 1 and 20 hundredths? The ones are the same if you're thinking of that place value chart from the page before. But this is saying I have 2 hundredths. That's saying I have 2 out of 100. Okay, this is saying I have 20 out of 100. So what would you rather have, 2 out of 100 or 20 out of 100? You'd rather have 20. You want more. Okay, you always want more if you're the hungry alligator. So 1 and 2 tenths is less than 1 and 20 hundredths. 1 and 2 tenths is less than 1 and 20 hundredths. Okay? All right, and then let's look at this one. Changing it to a fraction. 0.1, we don't have a mixed number again, so we don't have to worry about any whole numbers. So that's saying this is in the 10th spot, right? So that's saying I have 1 tenth. This is saying it's in the 10th spot. There's a 0 there. So it's saying I have 10 out of 100. All right, I'll go back and think about money, guys. If I have 1 tenth, that means I have 10 cents. If I have 10 out of 100, I have 10 pennies. Okay, you can think of that way, or you can do you want them to look the same. So multiply it by 10 would give you 100 on the bottom. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do the top. 1 times 10, remember the identity property in multiplication, any number times 1 says its own name. So that would give me 10 hundredths. 10 hundredths is equal to 10 hundredths. 0.1 is equal to 0.10 because it's saying 10 hundredths is equal to, 1 tenth is equal to 10 hundredths. Now here, if you notice, 0, 1, 0, 1 are in the same place, as opposed to here where 0, 2 and 2, 0 were not. They were flip-flopped. So you have to really be careful when you're looking at those questions. You really have to take your time. All right, so they are equal. And remember the idea that if there's a 0 there, it implies that there's nothing there. So over here, it implies if there's nothing there, it would be a 0. And 0 and 0 are equal. And now 0.10 looks the same as 0.10, doesn't it? So there's lots of little tricks that you can use. All right, that's the lesson for today. On Khan Academy today, you're going to do a video with the number line and questions. So you're going to be using the number line to do some comparison. Or actually, this is just number line and questions, how to read a number line. and plot those. And so remember how you're gonna have to drag that little green dot over to where you should be plotting it. Then you're gonna watch a video with comparing decimals and do the questions, okay? And actually, today I'm giving you a third video. I know it's a lot, but these videos are really short, and then you know you only get a few questions for each one. And we've got to try to push through this so you can do your quiz on Friday. Just so you know, the quiz on Friday will not be a Khan Academy quiz. It's going to be a quiz that I'm going to make it really easy for you guys, and I'm going to do it on that form that we usually do it on. And I'm going to probably hand score them, because I know sometimes when you convert them, if I put 2 answers and you don't put both answers, it marks it wrong. So I'm going to do a quiz for you on that form. All right, just so you know, it's not going to be on Khan Academy, but these are your practice questions. Okay, so you have 3: number line, comparing decimals, and converting them. And then, so I'm sorry, I'm reading it upside down to you guys. So the first one is number lines, then it's comparing decimals, then it's converting decimals to fractions. You've done all of that. Okay, so that's going to be your work today, and that's it. And then on Friday you'll have a quiz that I'm going to make with this stuff that we've been doing. Okay, I have some pre-made questions ready. Remember, if you have any questions, you can go to your channel and ask me, and I can call you just one-on-one, and we can go over it on my whiteboard a little bit closer if you need to go over something again. Okay. Also, go back and watch the video again if you want to. Go back. I know it's been long videos this week, but I'm trying to get everything in before the end of the year. But make sure you're watching these videos. I can tell when you guys haven't watched those because it doesn't give me a check there. So if you're not watching them and you're getting like 20%, that tells me you need to go back and watch that video. Or maybe you didn't watch my video. So just make sure that you're watching the videos, doing the questions, and take your time. When you get to these ones where all the numbers are the same, don't automatically say that they're equal. Okay? Also, I've seen a lot of things where they're asking you to pick 2 answers. Not select all. They actually tell you, hey, there's 2 answers, so that's kind of nice. I like that better than select all then apply, because sometimes we miss one, right? All right, that's it, you guys. Have a great Wednesday, and I will see you soon.